The type of person that Miner is, they're very rare. And he's a top-level skateboard filmmaker, and he got to work with top-level skateboarders.
Miner and me and Atiba and Emerica and Justin Regan, we all built careers and what is out there in the world today, which is never going anywhere. We all built that together. I wouldn't be sitting here with you if it wasn't for that.
He may not get the most credit as being the best filmer, best editor in skateboarding, and I think sometimes that's because he really is the best filmer and editor in skateboarding, because he's able to step back and let the skater shine, and that's a talent that Jon has.
In general, I think he just has like kind of defined how we look at skate videos now. Art mixed with top-tier skating.
Miner did have a huge influence on some of the younger skaters.
He was really good at giving me like the confidence and knowing, I guess, what I was good at. I knew he was working hard, and he was always like trying to make the best thing possible.
This line was something that I remember seeing and being like, okay, wow, so this is where this can go. It was so, it was such a an exciting, inspiring moment of actually thinking about putting together a line. You can see it, that there's an energy in the footage where it's we're all kind of just spazzing out. I'm spazzing out right now just talking about it. Capturing this footage is mentally exhausting. It's tapping into these old memories. It's emotional. Yeah. So by the end of going through footage, you're kind of emotionally exhausted. It's crazy to imagine that there were years that went by that I was man, I hope I can get this video camera someday. I think that for anybody, no matter what it is they do, if you're making something and then you actually get to see it come to life, that is almost guaranteed to fuel you and motivate you for what you do next. That was happening for me in these very formative years.
I would go into his dad's pizza place. We never saw each other. And then it wasn't until the first day of 6th grade that we met, and it was like, skater, and we were bonded from there. My mom bought the first 8mm camera for us. From there, it just got to be how can we put this stuff together and make it look like what we've been seeing on these videos? And I think every group of hardcore skaters that grows up together has something like that, where your friends unlock things for you.
A teenager that's becoming a full-blown junkie with skating and all the video work connected to it. I had parents who were very serious with me about getting good grades, and I was being pushed in the direction of going to college. The next thing that happens is when I'm 14, in 1992. It's fucking hard to talk about this shit.
There's little me and my mom. We were supposed to take a trip to Utah, and we're supposed to be at the airport bright and early, the day after the last day of school. While we're just being excited about this trip, being 14 years old, my mother, she had a patient that was 80 years old who hadn't seen his family in 20 years. She brought the patient and the patient's family to our house, and apparently they all partied. On the way to the airport, we got into a wreck. And yeah, 3 people died. I got hurt, in some ways, but was probably the least hurt out of everybody. Jon broke his leg.
The nature of the car accident that we got in was a head-on collision. So imagine sitting, I'm 14 years old and all I want to do is skate. That's the only thing I can think about. And like the whole thing is just confusing. Why am I being given an insurance settlement and not him?
Very resilient being 14 years old. So we had so many things to look forward to, but you know, Jon had a broken femur, had to recover.
What I can take from it is like, wow, it's so amazing that our friendship persevered through that we managed to like get through all of that.
That same trip that we didn't get to go on, that first day of summer, we ended up going to Utah. And he was just starting to skate, if I remember correctly at that point, but we still got to make that trip.
The next thing that happens is my stepdad dies. Out of nowhere, my stepdad had an aneurysm. It was terrible. Both my parents wanted me to take the money that I had gotten from that car accident and put it towards a college education. But what happened when my stepdad died, all these other things are happening with skateboarding in Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa Park's built, skaters moving to town, more opportunity with sponsors. I had money that was gonna go to a college education that in a very immature and naive way, I used to travel and to buy equipment.
Santa Rosa opening was just like, all of a sudden it became like the Mecca, because it was the first public skate park in Northern California to be built in a long time. So it was just all of a sudden we had pro skaters coming from different countries, and Santa Rosa was a destination.
There wasn't that much to skate around here. And then when that came around, it was just like this full game changer. And yeah, that obviously like just started attracting people, you know, like that's how we met people from San Jose and Grass Valley, and because they all just started gravitating there. Because in the beginning, it was such an amazing park and it was like kind of a wonder.
To skate with Chris Sen and Jaya Bondarov at the Santa Rosa Park. Jaya offered for me to join the Adrenaline team.
Getting a camera and having the ability to document skating, that was a dream come true. My God, I have a camera. I can shoot my friends skating. That skate park, especially back then, was pretty unique. We were daily surrounded by totally awesome skateboarding. So naturally, I was gonna start to figure out different ways to point the camera.
The magazines were super hyped on it. They would just send photographers out, and it would be, you know, any given day you show up there and there'd be like world-class skaters there, which was different for Santa Rosa.
If you have a video camera and you're surrounded by that much talent, then you're just gonna point your camera at it. It's inevitable, it just has to happen. It's like, if somebody's ripping, if somebody's doing something awesome, let's shoot it. I still wasn't competent enough to connect the dots. There wasn't anybody in front of me that was like a real example of that. And then somebody like Manzuri comes along and he's just like fearlessly getting after it.
I mean, you can't really talk about what Jon's tenure is without bringing Manzuri into the conversation.
He was working for ATM Click, and he was the team manager, he was the art director, he was laying out the ads, he was making the videos. That was huge for us. It just made it real, it made it accessible. Like, it made it okay to just like get after it and like really go for it. The ATM Come Together video, I got to participate in that.
Somewhere in our collection of VHS tapes, we got Come Together, the ATM video. I love that video. That's one of my all-time favorite skate videos, and probably kind of helped shape how I would want to make a video, you know?
Manzuri offered a full-time position at Soul Technology.
That eventually led to moving to Los Angeles. I started to connect with Andrew, Heath, Justin Regan, all of those guys.
I knew that Jon was a sponsored skater. He was a big stoner. All of us were, but he always had good weed, and we were like, all right. Yeah, you know, he skates. I don't even know if we filmed. He just skated and was smoking weed, and then slowly started to come around more and more.
So I first met Jon Miner probably in 1999 or 2000, when I was working at Emerica. Mike was like a pro for Etnies, and he was making films. He came over first, I believe, and brought Jon. And Jon and Mike Manzuri were basically the video department for all those brands.
Mike Manzuri was the head of the video department for all of those brands. Etnies, Emerica, 32 snowboard boots. During that time, for Emerica, what happened was Manzuri, he was having health issues physically. I started taking on a lot more of the shooting.
In that portfolio of brands, Emerica was the brand that sort of got overlooked by the corporate entities, so we kind of had it to ourselves. So we got to do whatever we wanted with that brand.
I remember Emerica wanted to make a video, and they brought on Jon Miner to film. The team was a bit dispersed when I first got on, and This Is Skateboarding is when it kind of narrowed down and we focused on, you know, whatever it was, these 5 guys and these 3 amateurs.
Back then there was a lot of partying. There was a lot of distractions to, you know, being focused on going out and skating. In fact, we rented a mansion and moved everyone into it just to create focus.
This is where we live.
From Justin Regan's standpoint, he was like, if I can get Jon, Andrew, and Heath in a house together, that would be ideal for motivating the rest of the guys and everybody to get focused on this video.
And then we ended up living together, you know? We were all in the Emerica mansion. You get a good result like that, you know? When we're on trips together, we're living together. The Emerica mansion was short-lived, but it was a really cool idea, you know, to have us all together like that.
So it was just this mansion in the hills that was owned by some sketchy guy, totally dilapidated, and Emerica kicked in some money and we all pitched in to pay the rest.
I think I paid like $150.
I was maybe 16 or 17 years old. I'm kind of doing homeschool. I just started touring, and I'm picking up all these sponsors, and they're like my dream sponsors, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we have this house. Reynolds and Heath and Ellington live upstairs, and Miner's up there doing pull-ups and like sitting at the computer. Everyone's like smoking a bunch of weed in an intense party phase. At that time, I think almost like I was like, I don't think I should be here. I was just seeing all these people in magazines, like, why are we living with them?
It was a pretty rough time for a few people. But it was a cool house, and we used to have fun skating the flat bar in the back. We had a little quarter pipe.
That was probably the best. Like the biggest height, getting paid well. Everyone was making 200, 300 grand. We did have a lot of freedom. You know, skateboarding was like Lord of the Flies, like just a bunch of fucking kids running the show.
Heath's like in the room. He's like a phantom catching a glimpse of it. Like really like all the things that you thought it would be. It was like the rock and roll ideal of like that a 17-year-old kid could be so gravitating towards.
We moved into that place with a purpose, and that purpose was to create some momentum and focus around finishing this video project. So Jon and I were really partnered closely. I think we both realized just like how special the team was, and what a shame it would be if we didn't put in our best effort to spotlight and showcase that team. That ended up being like probably the next 3 years of our lives were dedicated to creating the momentum around that video.
So much of what those Emerica videos were was wrapped up in the way that Andrew Reynolds and Heath Kirchart were progressing skating, and it was connected to that stair counting type of progression. Skate videos exist somewhere between magic and reality. It sits in this very tight space between the two.
The way he films, the way he like captures footage, he does not like inject himself into that. He very much like wants the skateboarding to shine and the skater to shine. I think he is underrated as a filmmaker because of that. And for me, it's why he's the greatest.
I've been skating for a long time and been lucky enough to have a very long career. And still to this day, people are like, dude, this is skateboarding, The Cure, all that stuff. Like, it was just like it hit at a time in skating where I think it just meant a lot to a lot of people, and I think a lot of that is because of the way Jon put things together and executed his vision.
Herman floating up in the air, it's sick. Like that's the stuff that makes it cool.
Yeah, so like that's kind of Miner's like look or aesthetic, is that Koyaanisqatsi, time-lapsey, mixed with, you know, explosions in the sky or mogwai, some like kind of instrumental music.
Skateboarding goes in waves, you know, and when Emerica came out with This Is Skateboarding, and it was just the right time, it worked.
There's the art, which is, I think, something that he's uniquely good at, being able to capture something where you don't realize that there's a filmer involved. And then there's so much more that goes into it than I think what people see on the screen as the end result.
I always cared tremendously about doing that type of work, but I didn't care or wasn't as focused or aware or like motivated or ambitious from a career standpoint. It was just about the work. Something switched when I had the opportunity to do Stay Gold. I can honestly say that going into that project, I've made a very conscious decision to start taking the work more seriously.
What's cool about him is I've filmed with people my whole life, but it wasn't until I worked with Jon that I realized the extent to which the skater-filmer relationship, like how important it is, and how that collaboration can make videos like Stay Gold and can make video parts like the kinds that he made.
He could get stuff out of skaters that no one else could. Like he could get the skaters to believe in themselves or to push themselves just that little bit harder to do the thing that even they didn't think they were capable of doing. The fact that he was a skateboarder, or like a really good skateboarder, he understands, the mechanics of these tricks in a way that people that maybe aren't as good at skateboarding understand, and so he's able to connect with the pros.
He rips the skating. That's something about skating I notice, which might be kind of like shallow of skaters, but the team manager and the filmer and the people around, when they don't rip, they don't get respected. The same way, I don't know, it just seems to be the way it is. Somebody who cares about their image in skateboarding, that's all we really want. Is like, can I trust that they're gonna make me look good? And with him, you could trust he's gonna make you look really good.
It was cool with Miner because it was like a real collaboration every time we went out. And it was fun and inspiring. And it was really cool that someone cared so much.
When somebody's wrangling everybody and sort of curating a video and giving their opinions on the way they want the video to look, if they come at it from a perspective of being able to rip and being able to create a video part themselves and knowing what the fuck they're talking about. It's not like some suit telling you to do a different trick, because that's what's hip right now. He knows how to skate. He's like incorporating his knowledge of what it is to be a pro skater.
Or also, like, he knows when not to give that type of feedback as a skater.
He was really good at almost tricking you into doing something. You know what I mean? Like, he can look at everybody and be like, all right, like, what is the incentive? No one taught him how to do that. He just was like, I need to get these guys to do things, and I have to figure out how.
Emerica was the first team he really kind of set himself up as a filmer. He was filming me and Andrew, and we were already kind of in our own element, It was the younger skaters, the Spankies, Westgates, that he kind of like saw himself more as kind of like a mentor. Westgate, and specifically Westgate, which sucks that you're not going to get him, but that guy's in fucking Maine.
We're going to try to, for what it's worth.
He's in Maine. I've been, like, Maine and Alaska are two states I haven't been to.
Heath thinks it's weird that I live in Maine. Heath's like the weirdest dude. I mean, everything that Heath does is weird. My dad at one point was saved like all of these magazines I have a photo in at some point. He saved like every magazine up until a certain point, and then he just, when we moved or whatever, he just gave them to me. But this is my first photo, if anyone even gives a fuck. But I think I had 2 in this. Yeah, right there. I had 2. Oh, back lip too. Like Big Brother. That's crazy. I got this. This was like I don't know, like a little thing you do like that. The Emerica tour, but this was actually the ad that I was talking about. I first shot this, I think San Diego or something. I didn't even know I had that. I always used to put this sticker on my nose. I think Spanky first started doing it, and then I seen it, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and then I just ran it forever. Fucking random ass photos. Look, I grabbed this bird. Damn. Yeah, pretty sick. This too. I don't know what the fuck this is. I got this cover, Miner. That was Miner inspired. That was Miner. I think Miner was the one that was like, oh yeah, I think you could maybe you could ollie up this thing. It's like some gap in like Texas. Good times.
Brandon was that living example of the skate fantasy, of like what we do as skaters when you walk around and look at spots. And you're like, oh dude, imagine that. Like imagine like flying over that. And then I've got a direct line to this little superhero that I can be like, dude, I found a spot that I think you could do. We should go look at it. like little Clark Kent starting to discover that he was Superman, you know?
We had a good way of like communicating, I guess. Especially after Stay Gold, I would kind of just like take his opinion like even more. I didn't know that that video was, you know, gonna be like that, and I was a part of something like that.
Filming somebody like Brandon Westgate, that type of high-speed, powerful skating, that's work that I can look at and I will be proud of forever.
One of the qualities that I appreciate the most about Jon is he is like no bullshit. He does not shy away from confrontation.
You know, he was telling us what we didn't want to hear a lot of the times, and that was like probably a lame position for him to be in.
There were times where it felt like we weren't friends. You know, towards the end of Stay Gold, I remember like he would call, I would see his name on my phone and I would feel, you know, I would like, I don't want to talk to him.
I certainly wasn't looking at it like I was being a bad cop. What I was doing was encouraging the idea that we have come so far, we've accomplished so much, and we're at the last push.
He'll know if someone can do something or if they're capable of it. And if he sees that they're not committed to the level he sees in them, he'll tell them. And sometimes people aren't ready to hear that.
He really, really had to like manage so many kids, and that's very difficult.
For me, I was like partying so much at that time, so our relationship was like, he is like pulling me, trying to get the best out of me, and I was like, I don't want to do any of this shit.
First of all, when someone tells you you're fucking up, that sucks to hear. But when you get to the other side of it and realize they were right, you trust that person more than anyone else, I think.
I think he did a really great job of getting the best out of us, even in the worst of our times.
I could be connected to them in the process that they were going through so that they could understand that, hey, I'm here, I'm with you. But having that, that soft touch through that process, having that unlimited patience for projects that went on for years, that's impossible.
At Element, we wanted somebody who could follow through with like a vision. I think like Stay Gold made such a big impact on most of the skaters that were riding for Element at that time that they just saw the things that he made as the bar.
They started off with something that was very ambitious. And then by the time it got to me, there was this sense of like, we need to wrap this up. Whatever progress had been made with the project up to that point was in disarray.
You know, I remember I flew down there because he was just kind of like falling apart a bit because it was just overwhelming. It was too much to do, all just because they were on this deadline that was kind of meaningless anyway. And then in the end, it really didn't matter.
A few months after I signed up, Cole let me know that he was leaving.
Yeah, I left Element maybe like 60% of the way filmed, maybe less. I wish I wouldn't have asked him to come in because it was really difficult for him to be there.
What are we doing here? You know, like those guys started something and they didn't see it through. God, I don't even know where to start. It was just like, I don't want to give off this sense of it was some huge disappointment or anything, because it wasn't. That video is full of phenomenal skateboarding. You know, I was grateful that I was able to complete it, but that project did a number on me, physically and mentally. This was after I had surgery and I was in rough shape, straight up. I was taking lots of pills. I was like basically hooked on pain pills at that point. I knew that I needed to get out of it, but I wasn't gonna quit. And I also didn't have the motivation to try to find another job. So I honestly was just hoping that I would get laid off, and that's what happened. Ready? Let's do this. It's a good cardio. It's like good exercise. Like I do this one so much that I can right away get a sense of where I'm at health-wise. Just if I get to the top and I'm not too winded, it's like, all right, doing okay. I'm old, I got bad hips. We decided to move back to Santa Rosa as a result of the lockdown. My relationship with Element ended right around the same time as the lockdown. All of those events created an opportunity for me to just shut down. I got this space and time to just focus on getting healthy again. Today was tough. Whew. Yeah, it's cool, right? That looks rad right there, just straight through to the hillside.
You kissing any girls up here?
I don't think so. At least not right here. We reached a point of living in Long Beach where it just simply didn't make sense to be there. Our relationship to this town is it's home. It's always home. I was struggling mentally and physically. Being here, being close to Charlie, being close to family, that was the opportunity to turn that around.
Present day, I'd say in the last year, like Jon's really trying to find that like same magic that you didn't know was magic when you were young. Finding the energy and the open heart to get back to square one of like, why did I do this in the first place? We're the same age to the day, and he's still skating, 47 years old.
He's really grounded now. You know, everything's slowed down a lot for him. But it's cool, it's given him time to like think, and it's exciting to see that he's still like exploring creative ideas and stuff, and he's still like excited about skateboarding. He still has that, and that's pretty cool to see.
There's people in your life that you could not talk to for 2 years, but then when you do, it's just the same as it was. As he's one of those friends to me. If I need him, I'm confident to say he's gonna show up. That's what makes a good person. You show up for the people in your life.
It's funny that like the entire time I knew Jon, he was not a skateboarder. Maybe at the very beginning, he was like still doing some big spin board slides on rails or something. It was a good 10 years he did not skateboard. And to see him now and just kind of like re-motivated to skate, and like when he comes back down to Los Angeles, like he calls me up to go skate, which Jon has never called me to skate in our 20s and our 30s. But here in our mid 40s, he's calling me to go skateboard now. So it's cool to see him kind of, you know, fall back in love with this thing that was such a huge part of his life.
He's just had a really huge influence on my life all around. He no longer has the burden of managing a bunch of people, and now he is just like able to use all that charm for just like hanging out and appreciating skating with his hippie ponytail, and he's just like spreading the love now.
I say it all the time, but like I've taken what I have learned from him and I apply it to what I do, managing a team all the time now. I'm like, you know, I think like, okay, like, you know, Miner would not let this happen, or he, you know, this is how he would deal with this situation.
He's always on a mission, so like even now, he's like, I think been skating a lot more, so now he's just kind of like, been thinking of like tricks for himself to try. Seeing him skate at the Santa Rosa park, that place is like really hard to skate. I mean, he's been skating it for years. Miner's fucking one of the best. Shit.
Getting a camera and having the ability to document skating, that to this day for me is still totally addictive. Anytime I can point a camera at a skater and we can create something that is fast and fluid, that's huge. It's the best.